Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Robert's English Classroom. I am Robert. So the question is, what is smaller than small? Well, the answer is a lot. In this lesson, I will introduce 11 vocabulary words that you can use instead of small and instead of little. Remember, if you want to improve your English, you need to learn higher level vocabulary to express your meaning much better and with more detail. So let's get started. So let's start with number one. The word is minute. Minute. Now you're looking at this word and you're thinking, Robert, that's spelled like minute, like 1 minute, 2 minute, right? But you're right. It looks like minute, but here we spell it minute, and I've written the pronunciation there for you. Minute. Now, minute means something that is extremely small, and it's often too small that you can't notice it unless you look at it carefully, unless you inspect it closely. So imagine you're taking a look at a family photo, and the photo looks great. You're looking at the photo and it looks fine, and then you start to zoom in on it. Look really, really closely at the details, and you start to notice, oh, there's a scratch here, or oh, there's a little blemish or blur here. So before, on the surface, it looks fine, but when you start to look at the minute details of the photo, you start to see some little blemishes, right? Little things that aren't exactly correct. So those are minute details of the photo. Okay, imagine another example like a diamond. Okay, so you have a diamond and the diamond looks beautiful and it's shiny and sparkly, but then you take a magnifying glass and you look very carefully at the diamond. You look at the minute details of the diamond and you start to see scratches, maybe a little bit of a chip. So that's when we look minutely at something, we're looking at the small details that you don't notice originally when you look at it. So one example here. The minute details of her painting took hours of careful work to perfect. So here what we mean is that she painted a beautiful painting but had a lot of minute details, tiny little details. Her minute handwriting was so small that it looked like a series of tiny dots on the paper. So she wrote so tiny, so minutely, okay, minute handwriting, that it looked like just little dots on the paper. The next word is minuscule. Minuscule. Now, minuscule also refers to something very tiny, but it's almost too small to be important or too small to matter or make a difference. So here are some examples here. Like, imagine you're buying a car. So you need to save money to buy a car. And you're working and you're trying to put money into your account. And 6 months goes by and you look at your bank account and you're like, oh, the amount hasn't really gone up. It's only grown by a minuscule amount. A minuscule amount, meaning it's grown, but so tiny, it's not important. It's not helping me to be able to buy the car. So it becomes very disappointing to you, right? Another example, you are filling out a paper with a pen and you're drinking coffee and you spill a minute amount of coffee on the paper. Now, do you throw away that paper and get a new one? Or do you think, it's a minuscule amount, so it doesn't matter. No one will notice. Okay, so minuscule means a very tiny amount of something. It's not important and it doesn't matter. Some examples. The minuscule amount of sugar in the recipe made the dessert barely sweet. So the dessert had sugar, but just a minuscule amount. So it didn't taste very sweet. His contributions to the project were so minuscule that no one noticed when he stopped helping. So if you're working on a team and one team member is helping a minuscule amount, has minuscule help or minuscule contributions, when that person stops working, you don't even notice because his contributions were not important. Number 3 is puny. Puny. This looks like punny, so be careful. It's puny. Now, puny means small, weak, when we talk about size and strength of something. So first I'll give an example of a tree. So you plant a brand new little tree in your garden, but it's very puny. So it's not very tall, it's not very thick or strong, and you're afraid if a windstorm comes, it might blow over the tree. Compare it to the other trees, the older trees, they're very strong and sturdy, but your tree looks puny. It's a puny tree. Imagine you go to the gym to work out and you're lifting weights and you feel so strong and you feel really good. And then a big guy comes next to you. He's big, he's got big muscles, and he's lifting heavier weights. You feel puny. You are puny compared to that guy. That means you're smaller and weaker in size and in strength. Some examples. The puny tree bent under the force of the wind, while the larger trees stood strong. So the puny tree is not very strong, so it's going to bend more. He felt puny next to his older brother, who had always been taller and stronger. The next word is infinitesimal. Infinitesimal. It's a long word, infinitesimal. Now, infinitesimal describes something so small that we can't even measure it. We can't even see it. It's so small. Now, when scientists are doing experiment, they are often dealing with infinitesimal things like molecules or bacteria. They're infinitesimal. They can't see them without a microscope. But the bacteria they are looking at might be infinitesimal, but they're still very dangerous, right? They could be dangerous to our health or to our body. Think about math problems. Have you ever done a math problem and the answer is under 0, not 0, and it's an infinitesimal number like 0.0000001, right? It's an infinitesimal number. You still have to calculate that number, but it's very, 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 very small, almost like it doesn't exist. Some examples. The infinitesimal particles floating in the air were invisible to the naked eye. The difference in their opinions were so infinitesimal that it hardly seemed worth debating. This is interesting. Imagine two people debating a topic like politics, but their ideas and opinions are almost the same. It's just an infinitesimal difference in their opinions. It's so small, you don't even notice it. It's hard to find it. Next one, petite. Petite. Now, petite usually describes something or someone that is small and very delicate, okay? Commonly, we use this for people, usually women, okay? A petite woman. So if you go shopping, often women go shopping for clothes, and they might be a smaller body and a smaller height person, they will want to buy clothes in the petite section. So there actually is a size of clothes that's smaller than small, and it's called petite. Another example is you might meet a petite friend, and that person looks really small and delicate, right? But their personality might be very loud and strong, okay? So just because someone is petite doesn't mean their personality is also petite. She was a petite woman, but her presence filled the room. The petite furniture fit perfectly in the small apartment's cozy living room. So the petite furniture may be a bit smaller than regular furniture. The next word is meager. Meager. Now, meager means small when we're talking about quantity, the amount of something, or quality. So what do I mean here? Picture someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, right? You're getting your salary every 2 weeks or every month, and most of your money is gone by the end of the month. You're just scraping by. We would call this a meager income, okay? Because it makes it very difficult to even buy the basic things you need, like rent or food. It's not only small, it's like not enough, okay? It's a meager amount. Imagine you have a long day and you sit down for dinner and there's a meager portion of food. You finish the food and you're still hungry. It's not enough. It's a meager portion, a meager plate of food. So it makes you feel disappointed because you didn't get what you expected. After hours of work, the meager salary barely seemed worth it. So you're working a long time, but you still get that meager salary. You think, why should I work at all? The meager snacks and lunch that were given during the hike left everyone hungry. So everyone finished the hike, or they're hiking and they get snacks and they feel like, this is not enough. I'm still hungry. I need more energy. It's a meager amount of snacks. The next one is modest. Modest. So modest also means small, but we're talking about it in a sense of it's kind of unassuming. It's not huge and grandiose, right? But it's not a bad thing either. It's still positive. So let me explain. Imagine you're going to get married, right? And some people will get married in a church, but you decide to get married in a very small chapel, not a big, fancy church. You go to a nice, simple country chapel. It's very charming and it's very cozy. Okay? We would say that's a modest place to get married, a modest church. It's not fancy and bright and huge. It's just small and cozy and simple. So we'd say it's modest. Think of someone who makes a lot of money and then they want to buy a car. But instead of buying a big fancy flashy car, instead they just go buy a regular car that's not too expensive and not too fancy. They buy a modest car. So people might think, well, you have so much money, why don't you buy a fancy car? But other people think, I don't care, I just want something modest. Okay, so modest isn't a bad thing. It just means it's smaller in scale or scope. Despite his wealth, he chose to live in a modest home far from the city. So a modest home, like a smaller house, not a huge mansion. Her modest achievements were overshadowed by her friend's more notable success, though she didn't seem to mind. So you can have some modest achievements. They're still very good. They're very important, but maybe they're just not as popular achievements as other ones. The next word is trifling. Trifling. Now, trifling refers to something that is insignificant or unimportant. Often it's comparing something to larger issues. Okay, so it's a trifling issue, meaning it's an unimportant issue. So imagine maybe you know someone who gets really upset over trifling matters. Like something small might happen to their phone. They get a small scratch on their phone. Or they've lost something that you can easily just replace. But they get really upset. But these are just trifling matters. These are trifling things that happen. They're unimportant. Some examples. She apologized for the trifling mistake that went unnoticed by everyone else. So she maybe made a mistake on a report, but it was a trifling mistake, unimportant. Nobody noticed, but she still apologized. Arguing over trifling details delayed the progress of the project by several days. So a team has to finish a project, but they're arguing over trifling details, unimportant things, and it delays the project. The next word is scant. Scant. Scant means that something is not enough, not quite enough, and not sufficient. So imagine we're cooking something, like a cake, and we need a cup of sugar in the cake. But you only have a scant amount of sugar left in your kitchen, maybe just some teaspoons left. You can still make the recipe, but it won't come out so sweet or rich. So you use a scant amount of sugar. Maybe some students are preparing for an exam, okay? And they need lots of materials, but they don't have enough. They only have a few materials to use. They would say, we only have a scant number of books or a scant amount of materials. This means they don't have enough. It's a small amount, not enough. They're still going to try to study for the test with these materials, but it might not fully prepare them. Some examples: the scant amount of time left before the deadline made everyone nervous. So a deadline is coming and there's a scant amount of time left, not much time. They probably feel they can't finish. There was a scant amount of food left after the large group of hikers arrived. So the hikers arrived, a big group, they eat all the food on the table, and afterwards there was a scant amount left, little bit left, small amount left. The next word is pint-sized. Pint-sized. So pint-sized describes something that is small or miniature, and usually we use this in a casual and playful way. So think of a little child, a 1-year-old or 2-year-old walking around. We would say that the toddler is pint-sized. And the pint-sized toddler was trying to wear his parents' oversized shoes, right? That looks really cute. He has big shoes on little feet. Another example might be a dog that is pint-sized, a pint-sized dog. The pint-sized superhero was small in stature, but big in bravery. The pint-sized ice cream sundae was just enough for a quick treat. So the ice cream sundae maybe wasn't very big, just a pint size, but just good enough. Our final word is compact. Compact. Compact means small and efficiently arranged, like small and efficient. And we use this word for things that are small in size, but they're really good to use. They're really useful and functional. So compact car, that's a common time when we use compact. Compact car. A compact car is like a smaller size car that's probably really good for driving around in the city. If you live in a busy city, you don't want a big car. A compact car is much more suitable and much more functional. It's easy to park and it won't take up a lot of space. Computers can also be compact. Laptops that are very small laptops are compact laptops. They fit nicely into the bag, they're easy to carry, they're light. So even though it's small or compact, it's still really useful and really functional. The compact suitcase fit perfectly into the overhead compartment on the airplane. So a compact suitcase won't be very big, it's just enough to fit everything and then fit nicely on the plane. The compact kitchen was well organized and made great use of the limited space. So a compact kitchen is a smaller kitchen in a house, but even though it's smaller, it's still really useful. It does its job. So let's review them. First one, minute, minute, minuscule, minuscule, puny, puny, infinitesimal, infinitesimal, petite, petite, meager, meager, modest, modest, trifling, trifling, scant, scant, pint-sized, pint-sized, compact, compact. And your homework that you can write in the comment box is this: what is something compact that you use? So we'll look at the last word, compact. Is there anything in your life compact that you use? And the second question, do you feel you make a meager salary, or is your salary enough? Is it meager, or do you want some more? Let me know in the comment box, and of course I will answer you, okay? I hope this lesson wasn't trifling for you. I don't think so. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.